Okay, so today we're going to dive into a really fascinating new study called the prompting brain. And this is wild because for the very first time, it actually looks inside the heads of people who are experts at talking to AI.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're staring at a chatbot, some large language model, and you just have this gut feeling that you're not getting the best stuff out of it. It's like there's a secret language you're supposed to know, but nobody gave you the dictionary.
Well, it turns out that feeling is totally real. A new skill called prompt engineering has popped up, and honestly, it's a game changer. The people who really master this are almost like AI whisperers. They know exactly how to craft the perfect questions to unlock an AI's full potential.
But that brings up the big question, doesn't it? I mean, it's one thing to know that someone is good at this. It's another thing entirely to understand how they do it. What is physically different inside an expert prompter's brain? Well, a team of neuroscientists decided to find out.
So first things first, their initial challenge was figuring out how to even measure this brand new skill and then see if it actually leaves a unique signature on the brain's wiring.
And here's the game plan they came up with. They brought in 22 people. Then, they had each person fill out this newly developed questionnaire, which they called the Prompt Engineering Literacy Scale, basically to grade their skill level. And then, the really cool part. They had everyone lie down in an fMRI scanner to look at their brain activity while they were just resting, not even actively prompting anything.
It all came down to a magic number, 37. On that literacy test they developed, anyone who scored above a 37 was classified as an expert. Anyone below that was considered intermediate. And believe it or not, that simple dividing line was all the scientists needed to start comparing their brains.
And what they found was pretty incredible. The differences between the two groups, they weren't subtle at all. It turns out that expert prompters really do have a distinct neural signature.
So if you look at it from a high level, it really boils down to two huge things. First, the expert brains showed way more synchronized and organized activity across entire networks. And second, some very specific, very crucial parts of their brains were communicating with each other a lot more strongly.
So this first major finding was all about brain-wide organization. In the experts, these key networks, the ones we use for things like visualization and deep thought, were just more in sync. They were humming along at this steady, low-frequency rhythm. You can kind of think of it like a well-tuned orchestra, perfectly primed and ready for complex thought, even when it's just resting.
But you know, that network stability, that's really only part of the story. The study also managed to pinpoint the exact communication lines that were basically supercharged inside the experts' brains.
Yeah, the fMRI data pointed to two specific hubs that were buzzing with activity and have these supercharged connections. The left middle temporal gyrus, we'll call it the MTG, and the left frontal pole, or FP. So what do these parts of the brain actually do?
All right, first up is the MTG. The best way to picture this area is as the brain's master librarian. It's this critical hub for semantics, for understanding the meaning of words and how different concepts relate to each other. So in these experts, this region is better connected, which suggests they can just more quickly and accurately pull the absolute perfect words and ideas from their mental library to build a really precise prompt.
Then you've got the second hub, the frontal pole. This part acts like the brain's strategic CEO. This is where our most complex thinking happens. Long-term planning, setting goals, thinking about abstract stuff. So a better connected frontal pole means these experts are just superior at structuring their prompts, thinking multiple steps ahead, and refining their whole strategy to get exactly what they want out of the AI.
So we've got these more synchronized networks, and we have two super connected hubs for language and strategy. What does any of this mean for the future of how we all interact with AI?
You know, the authors of the study really put it perfectly. They said this research is all about bridging the gap between our minds and the machines we're creating. By understanding how our brains are adapting to AI, we can build a much, much better partnership.
So what's the big takeaway here for you? Well, these findings are not just some academic curiosity. They could actually lead to AI interfaces that are designed to support the way our brains naturally work, which would reduce a ton of frustration. They could help us create training programs that specifically target those librarian and CEO functions in the brain, making everybody a better prompter faster. And ultimately, this could all help us build AI that is just more in tune with how humans think.
This really brings us to the bigger picture, because this isn't just about prompt engineering, is it? It's about how our brains are fundamentally changing in the age of AI.
What this study gives us is a foundational snapshot. It's the first real piece of evidence showing how our neural hardware, our own biology, is adapting to this new and really complex cognitive task. We are literally beginning to map the coevolution of human and artificial intelligence.
And that just leaves us with a fascinating question to chew on. We've just seen the brain signature of today's AI whisperers. But as these AI systems become infinitely more powerful, exponentially more complex, what new connections will our brains have to forge? How are we going to continue to adapt? Well, that's the next chapter we are all waiting to see written.